Hi, this is Gary with MACMOST.com. Today, let's take a look at some of the new features coming to macOS Monterey. MACMOST is brought to you thanks to a great group of more than 1,000 supporters. Go to macmost.com/Patreon. There you can read more about the Patreon campaign, join us, and get exclusive content and course discounts. So I tried to make a list of all of the new features coming to macOS version 12. But the list was more than 100 items long. So instead of trying to go and look at each one, I'm going to take a look here at some of the ones I find the most interesting. Over the coming months, as we get near to the release of macOS Monterey, I'm going to be taking a closer look at a lot of these different features. But for now, here's a general overview of what you can expect. And keep in mind, we're only at Developer Beta 1, so things could change. So there are a lot of new features in FaceTime and Messages, but we're probably going to have to wait till we get closer to release to really see how these will work. In Safari though, we can already see a major change right at the top of the Safari window. The address field and tabs are now merged. So instead of having a URL in the address field and then the title of that page repeated in the tab, it's all just one thing now. Every tab has its own address and search field. So this makes things a lot more compact, and I really like how this kind of looks and works. It feels really good. In addition to that, you can create something called tab groups. So say you create 3 tabs that are related to each other. You could save that as a tab group and then create a new tab group and create 5 different tabs and save that as a tab group. Switching between tab groups is instant. So you can jump between a group that say is related to a project you're working on and another group that is maybe news sites that you look at. This is a much better alternative than having like 50 tabs open and trying to figure out where everything is. Notes, of course, looks basically the same at first, but the big new feature is Quick Notes. Now Quick Notes, sure, they let you create a note very quickly, but the main feature of Quick Notes is the fact that they're tied to content. So for instance, if you start a Quick Note while you're viewing a web page, then you go back to that web page later, you could easily bring back that Quick Note. It's related to that web page. So it's like taking notes on web pages, and you can have as many of these as you want. This is going to be great for anybody that has to do any kind of research online. In addition, Notes has tags now. So you can add these little hashtags into your notes. Just do them as you naturally would in other apps. And then those tags will appear in the left sidebar. So you can select a tag and see all the notes that have that tag in it. It even works with multiple tags. So you can select 2 tags and see the notes that have both of those tags in them. Now there are 2 new features in Photos that I want to point out. Live text is the big new feature. There are a lot of aspects to this. I'm hoping that you'll be able to search using live text. I'm sure you'll be able to, but right now it doesn't seem to work in the developer beta. But you can definitely select and copy text that you see in images. It works seamlessly. So you just move your cursor over text and you get a text cursor. And you could drag to select it just like you would in a text editing app. Then you can copy and paste it into another app. It works. But another big new feature that's going to solve a lot of problems for people is you can import photos from other photo libraries. So the import option now allows you to select a photos library. It'll show you which photos you already have and which ones are new. This is going to be really useful for photographers that like to keep different libraries for different things but probably have their main library and every once in a while need to bring a photo in. You don't have to export the photo out and import it in now. You could just use this new import feature. Of course, a huge new feature is the Shortcuts app. It looks and feels a lot like the Shortcuts app in iOS, particularly on the larger screen of the iPad. But of course, using it on the Mac with all the Mac functionality means it's even more powerful. So there's a lot of different things that you can do with it. I've just started exploring all the different commands. It crashes a lot right now, probably because, it's the first developer beta of this brand new app. I don't expect it to be very stable for a few more versions, but I think this is going to be really powerful. And what's really exciting is it does allow you to have AppleScript, shell scripts, and JavaScript in it. So many of the more complex things that we do in Automator now should be able to work in Shortcuts if it supports these 3 different ways to program it, just like Automator does. While Automator isn't going anywhere, if Shortcuts is powerful enough, it will pretty soon supplant Automator as the main way to do automations on your Mac. I really like how the new universal translation feature works. If you go to a web page, you don't have to translate the entire web page. You can select text, bring up the context menu, and then have this little translation shown over to the side. Very useful if there's just a bit of text you want to translate. And if you're doing it in an app where you're actually working with text, you can have it actually replace the text that you type with the translation. With every new version of macOS there are new accessibility features, but one I think a lot of people are going to use is the ability to change the color of the cursor. You can change the color of the outline and the color of the fill. So that combined with the fact that you can make the cursor larger as well means you can pretty much customize the cursor. The shape's going to be the same, but those that have trouble seeing the cursor are going to be able to make it much easier to find on the screen. Now this may seem like a minor change, but I think it's a pretty big deal. The Go to Folder functionality in the Finder is something most people don't use, but some people do, and those that do use it a lot. And this is the first update I've seen to Go to Folder in a long time. It looks different now, but the best part is it does autocomplete really well. Just type a few letters and it figures out where you want to go. So you don't have to type these full paths anymore. Typing something like doc really quickly gets you to the Documents folder, for instance. Now there are two new changes to how passwords are stored on your Mac, and I like them both. One is that you can access the passwords database in System Preferences. Before you could only access it in Safari or in the very complex keychain access. But now the same functionality you find in Safari is also in System Preferences, so you don't have to open up Safari to find a password. The other thing that you can do now is you can import and export passwords. So for those that want to back up all their passwords, they can export them to this simple CSV format. It includes all of the information, so then you can save that somewhere to an archive, put it on a USB stick and store it away somewhere to have a backup of your passwords. And finally, there are three new features of Mission Control that I think are really important. One is the ability when you're in split view to replace one half of the screen. So instead of having to kill split view and kind of recreate it using one of the apps and then a different app for the second half, you can click on the green button and now choose to replace that half of the screen with another app. You can also opt to break a split view into two full screen apps, which again makes a common thing a lot easier. Instead of having to exit split view and then go into full screen view for both those apps, you can do it in one move. And finally, there's now the ability to have the menu bar available to you in full screen view at all times. Right now, of course, it's only available if you move the cursor to the top. And a lot of people complain that they would love to see the menu bar while in full screen view. It doesn't take up that much space and we all use the menu bar a lot. So now you have that option built into System Preferences. It's there alongside the option to remove the menu bar in the regular windowed desktop. So there, a look at a bunch of the different things that I really think are interesting in macOS Monterey. And as we all explore these new features over the course of the beta, as the release approaches, I'll do videos on various different things that I think will be important and used by a lot of people. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, click the thumbs up button below to let me know. I publish new tutorials each weekday. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out.